The window explodes inward in a shower of glass and moonlight. 3 figures in black tactical gear crash into the royal bedchamber, silver blades gleaming. Lyra barely has time to scream before Valerius moves, faster than thought, faster than fear. One moment he's beside her in silk sheets. The next, a massive black wolf the size of a bear stands between her and death, golden eyes blazing with primal fury. The first assassin lunges. Valerius's jaws close around the man's throat. No mercy, no hesitation. The second raises a crossbow loaded with silver. Lyra's hand shoots forward, shadows erupting from her palm like living serpents, yanking the weapon away and hurling the assassin into the stone wall with a sickening crack. The third assassin, a woman with cold eyes, throws a silver dagger. It slices across Lyra's shoulder. She gasps, blood blooming crimson against her skin. Valerius roars, a sound that shakes the palace foundations and tears the woman apart. Silence. 3 bodies, shattered glass. Lyra bleeding. Valerius shifts back to human form, naked and frantic, pressing his hands to her wound. His voice cracks with terror she's never heard before. "The baby! God, Lyra, the baby!" She stares at him, shock rendering her motionless. What baby? 3 weeks ago, Lyra woke in a bed that felt like floating on clouds. Silk sheets the color of cream. Morning sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a kingdom that was now hers. And Valerius, 6'6" of Mediterranean muscle and devotion, watching her with an expression that made her chest ache. "You're staring," she murmured, stretching. "I'm memorizing," he corrected, his voice still rough with sleep. 9 years I searched for you. I'm allowed to stare." She rolled toward him, her natural curls spilling across his chest. Last night's gala felt like a fever dream. Kale's face when the foreclosure was announced, Serena fleeing through the crowd. 200 witnesses watching her transform from invisible servant to undeniable queen. "What happened to Kale?" she asked, though part of her didn't care anymore. He was a chapter closed, a wound healed. Valerius's jaw tightened. Stripped of his alpha status, every pack rejected him. Last I heard, he was begging for scraps at the city gates. He paused. "Do you want me to—" "No," Lyra cut him off. "He's nothing. I don't even think about him anymore." Valerius pulled her closer, his hand spanning the small of her back. "Good, because I have better things for you to think about." He kissed her, slow and deep and claiming, and the shadows around the room began to swirl. Golden light sparked beneath his skin where her hands touched him, their magic responding to each other, to the mate bond that sang between them like a living thing. Clothes began to disappear. His mouth found her throat, her collarbone. She gasped his name and the bed beneath them started to lift. Actually lift, hovering 2 feet off the ground as their combined power surged. Outside the door, 2 servants exchanged knowing glances as crashes and magical flares echoed from within. "The new Luna is passionate," one whispered. "The king hasn't stopped smiling in 3 weeks," the other replied. "Let them break furniture. We'll bill it to the royal treasury." An hour later, Lyra stood in the throne room wearing crimson silk and a crown that felt both foreign and inevitable. 52 Omegas knelt before her, former prisoners, women and men who'd been locked away for crimes like speaking out of turn or refusing an alpha's advances. Kale's justice system had been a joke. Hers would be different. By my authority as Lunar and Tithe Keeper Heir, I pardon every Omega imprisoned under outdated hierarchy laws. Her voice rang through the chamber. Rank by birth is abolished effective immediately. From this day forward, you rise or fall by merit, not bloodline. The gasps were immediate. Conservative wolves in the crowd muttered darkly. But the 52 Omegas wept, pressing their foreheads to the marble floor. Thank you, my Luna. Thank you. Lyra's throat tightened. 3 weeks ago, she'd been one of them. Invisible, worthless. Now she was rewriting the rules that had crushed her. Movement in the crowd caught her eye. A familiar platinum blonde head, badly dyed now and unwashed. Serena, pushing through the masses, her designer clothes gone, replaced with stained cotton. She dropped to her knees at the throne's base. Luna, Lyra, please. I have nothing. No home, no family. Kale's debts ruined me too. I'm begging you. Lyra remembered wine dripping down her face, cruel laughter at pack gatherings. Serena's hand always possessively on Kale's arm while Lyra scrubbed floors. You threw wine in my face for entertainment, Lyra said quietly. You called me the help and made sure everyone knew I was beneath you. Serena's face crumpled. I'm sorry. I was awful. You were cruel because you could be. Lyra leaned forward. Now you know how it feels to have nothing. Guards, assign her to the stables, minimum wage. She'll appreciate honest work. Serena was dragged away, sobbing. Valerius appeared at Lyra's side, his hand finding her lower back. Merciful and petty, he murmured in her ear. I love you more every single day. She smiled despite herself. But the smile died when a hologram flickered to life in the center of the throne room. A woman in black tactical gear materialized, sharp features, silver hair, cold authority radiating from every pixel. Commander Iris, Lyra's former handler, the woman who trained her for 9 years to infiltrate and destroy the Lycan hierarchy from within. Hello, Lyra. Iris's voice was ice. Or should I call you Luna now? That's what traitors call themselves, isn't it? The room went silent. You were supposed to kill the king, Iris continued. Instead, you married him. You were supposed to free humans from wolf oppression. Instead, you became one of them. Lyra's hands clenched. They're not monsters, Iris. I was wrong. We were all wrong. Wrong? Iris laughed bitterly. The hologram shifted, showing footage, human settlements being raided by armored collective soldiers, families dragged from homes, children crying. We're relocating every human who chose to stay in wolf territories after your betrayal, Iris said. 3,000 so far. They trusted your vision of coexistence. Now they'll pay for your selfishness. Lyra's breath caught. Valerius's hand tightened on her back. You have 72 hours, Iris declared. Renounce your mate, return to us, resume your mission, or we burn every settlement. 3,000 lives, Lyra. Their blood will be on your hands. The hologram vanished. Lyra stood frozen, her mind racing. Valerius turned her gently to face him. What do you need from me? He asked quietly. She met his eyes, those storm grey eyes that had looked at her like she was worth something from the very first moment. I need you to trust me, she whispered. I'm going to do something that looks like betrayal, but I swear to you, it's not. He studied her face, then nodded. I trust you. 20 minutes later, Lyra stood before the royal council and made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the kingdom. I'm considering the collective's offer. 2 days later, Lyra met Alpha Magnus in an abandoned warehouse on the border territories. He was everything Valerius wasn't. 60 years old, scarred from a lifetime of fighting, muscles like corded steel beneath weathered skin. A traditionalist who believed omegas belonged on their knees and humans belonged in chains. He hated everything Lyra's new regime represented, which made him perfect. You want to betray your mate? Magnus's voice was gravel and suspicion. Why? Lyra had rehearsed this. Because I was born human, Alpha Magnus. I survived 9 years in the collective by learning one skill, playing both sides. She stepped closer. Valerius is idealistic. He thinks omegas and humans deserve equality. But I know the truth. The old ways kept order. I'll help you kill him. You make me puppet queen. Humans go back to servant class. Everyone wins. Magnus circled her like a predator. Why should I trust you? Because I'm a survivor, Lyra said coldly. And survivors don't die for principles. We adapt. What Magnus didn't know, the silver bracelet on Lyra's wrist contained a recording device. Valerius's spies surrounded the warehouse. This was a sting operation. Magnus smiled, a terrible thing, all yellow teeth and violence. The collective approached us first, you know. Offered us human weapons in exchange for killing your husband. He leaned in close. We have 500 warriors, silver bullets, military-grade explosives. Your husband dies in 3 days, whether you help or not. Lyra forced her expression to remain neutral. Then I want to be there. I want to watch. Oh, you'll watch. Magnus grabbed her wrist and froze. His nostrils flared. His eyes widened. You're pregnant. Lyra's heart stopped. 4 weeks along, Magnus continued, his voice dropping to a snarl. Wolf can smell it. Hybrid abomination growing in your belly. He released her wrist like it burned. Good. When we kill the king, we'll gut you and carve out that mistake too. Lyra's hand moved to her stomach instinctively. Pregnant. 4 weeks. She hadn't known, hadn't even suspected. Magnus laughed. 3 days, little queen. Enjoy your last nights with the monster who knocked you up. Lyra fled the warehouse, signal sent, recording obtained. But her mind was white noise. Pregnant. She was pregnant. Lyra made it back to the palace before her knees gave out. Valerius found her in their chambers, sitting on the floor with her back against the bed, both hands pressed to her stomach, tears streaming down her face.
I got the recording, she said numbly. 500 wolves, silver bullets, human weapons. The collective armed them. They attack in 3 days. Lyra, I'm pregnant. Silence. Valerius dropped to his knees in front of her, his large hands covering hers on her stomach. His eyes, those grey-blue eyes, shone with tears. A baby, he whispered. Our baby. Magnus could smell it. He called it an abomination. He's going to kill us and carve out our child. Her voice broke. I didn't even know. How did I not know? Valerius pulled her into his arms, cradling her against his chest. Golden light began to glow beneath his skin, his wolf responding to the bond, to the miracle growing inside her. The first hybrid in 200 years, he murmured into her hair. Since my mother. Since the bloodline we thought ended. Lyra pulled back to look at him. What if I'm terrible at this? What if our child is hated by both species? What if… He kissed her, soft, reverent. When he pulled away, his forehead rested against hers. Then we teach them to be so powerful, hate becomes irrelevant. He lifted her gently, so gently, like she was made of glass, and carried her to bed, laid her down on silk sheets. His hand never left her stomach, golden wolf light glowing softly around them both, shadows rising to cradle them like a protective cocoon. Our magic knows, Valerius said quietly. It's already protecting the baby. Lyra's tears wouldn't stop, but they weren't fear anymore, not entirely. We have 3 days to stop 500 wolves from killing our family, she said. Then we'd better get to work. 2 hours later, the War Council convened. Beta Garrett, Valerius's second-in-command, stared at Magnus's recorded confession with growing horror. We're outnumbered. They have silver bullets, military-grade human weapons. We'd need a miracle. Lyra stepped forward, shadows coiling around her fingers. We don't fight with claws, we fight with strategy. She revealed her plan. For 3 weeks, while publicly considering the collective's offer, she'd been smuggling human refugees out of collective territories. The people Iris threatened to burn, already safe, hidden in wolf territories under assumed names. They think they have leverage, Lyra said. They have nothing. The hostages are already free. Valerius stared at her with something like awe. You've been running a covert evacuation operation for 3 weeks and I didn't know. I had help. Lyra gestured, and a woman stepped from the shadows, one of the refugees, a young human with sharp eyes. Meet Kira, collective spy, except she's actually my spy. I've been feeding the collective false information through her for 2 weeks. Kira grinned. They think your forces are depleted. They think you're vulnerable. They have no idea you've been preparing for this. Valerius crossed his arms, fighting a smile. You're terrifying. Marry me again. Already did. Focus. But Lyra smiled too. They planned through the night, 300 royal wolves against 500 rogues. Disadvantage in numbers, advantage in strategy, terrain, and one very angry Shadowborn queen who'd just discovered she was fighting for 3 lives instead of 2. As dawn broke, Lyra stood on the ramparts, Valerius beside her. Tomorrow, you stay in the palace, he said quietly. Protected. You're carrying our child. She turned to face him. I'm fighting. Our child needs to know their mother was a warrior. Lyra. She kissed him, hard, claiming. When she pulled back, her eyes glowed silver. We end this together, or not at all. That night, Valerius took Lyra to the forest. He shifted, bones cracking, body expanding, fur erupting, and within seconds, a massive black wolf stood before her, 8 feet at the shoulder, eyes like molten gold. The king in his truest form. He lowered himself, and Lyra climbed onto his back, fingers tangling in thick fur. They ran. Through ancient trees and moonlit clearings, faster than any horse, the wind whipping her hair back. She'd ridden him once before, weeks ago, when she was still pretending to be someone else. But this time, she wasn't hiding. She was home. He stopped at a cliff overlooking the kingdom, thousands of lights twinkling below. Shifted back, naked under the stars, and pulled her into his arms. I can't lose you, he said roughly. I just found you, I can't." "You won't," she cupped his face. "We're bound, remember? Fate, magic, and choice. The bond doesn't break." He kissed her like a man drowning, and she kissed back like oxygen. His hands were everywhere, her waist, her back, tangling in her curls, and she arched into him, needing this, needing him, needing to remember what they were fighting for. Clothes disappeared. The grass beneath them began to glow, gold and silver light mixing, their magic making love as much as their bodies. She gasped his name into the night, and he swore against her skin that he'd burn the world before he let anyone take her. When they finally lay tangled together, his hand resting on her still flat stomach, she whispered, "If it's a girl, I want to name her Elena, after your mother." His breath hitched. Elena, the first hybrid, the one who tried to bridge two worlds and died for it. Then our Elena will succeed where she couldn't. He kissed her forehead, soft, reverent. "Tomorrow we fight. Tonight we love. Deal?" "Deal." They made love twice more under the stars before dawn came to drag them toward war. The attack came at dawn. 500 wolves poured over the ridge like a living avalanche. Massive beasts of every color, teeth bared, howling for blood. Behind them, 200 human collective soldiers in tactical gear, weapons raised, silver bullets loaded. Magnus led the charge, a scarred grey wolf the size of a small car, his roar shaking the palace foundations. Valerius met him head-on. The collision was cataclysmic. 2 alpha wolves, 2 kings, crashing together with the force of earthquakes. They rolled across the courtyard, tearing chunks from stone, leaving claw marks in marble. Valerius's jaws clamped around Magnus's shoulder. Magnus raked claws across Valerius's ribs. Blood sprayed. Both howled. Around them, 300 royal wolves surged forward to meet 500 rogues. The battle became chaos. Lyra stood on the palace steps, shadows exploding from her body like wings. She threw her hands forward, and darkness became weapons. Shadow spears impaling charging wolves, shadow shields deflecting silver bullets, shadow whips yanking human soldiers off their feet and slamming them unconscious. "For the Luna!" someone screamed, and 50 wolves rallied around her, defending their queen. But they were outnumbered, outgunned, losing ground. Lyra saw a collective soldier aim a rocket launcher at the palace nursery. She screamed, and shadows erupted. A massive shadow construct in the shape of a wolf, 40 feet tall, pure darkness given form. It swatted the soldier aside like an insect. More shadow constructs rose, a pack of darkness, fighting alongside flesh and blood. Then she felt it, the pull, deep in her chest, the bond flaring with pain. She turned. Valerius, in human form now, staggered backward. Silver bullet hole in his chest, blood pouring between his fingers. Magnus stood over him in human form, holding a smoking gun. "The king dies," Magnus snarled. "The hybrid dies. The old ways return." Lyra ran. Shadows carried her, lifting her off the ground, flying her across the battlefield. She landed between Magnus and Valerius, trembling with rage and terror. "Get away from him," Magnus laughed. "Or what? You'll cry at me? You're human, girl. Weak. Pathetic. Your magic is borrowed power." "You want to talk about old power?" Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. Let me show you. Old. She closed her eyes, reached deep. Not for the Shadowborn magic she'd learned to wield, but for the ancestral power sleeping in her blood. The Tithe Keepers. The banking dynasty that had ruled from shadows for 1,000 years. Every ancestor who'd ever lived. Every woman who'd wielded this darkness before her. They answered. Her eyes snapped open, pure silver glowing like stars. Shadows erupted from her body in a tidal wave, blotting out the sun. The battlefield went dark. Every wolf, every soldier, every living thing stopped fighting and stared in terror. Lyra became darkness itself. She didn't kill Magnus. Death was too kind. Instead, she reached into his chest, not physically, but with shadow made solid, and pulled. His wolf spirit, the essence that made him alpha, came screaming out in ribbons of golden light. She absorbed it, consumed it, made it hers. Magnus collapsed, gasping. Human. Completely, permanently human. His wolf was gone. Around them, 500 rogues dropped to their bellies, whimpering, submitting. Their alpha had fallen to power greater than any they'd ever seen. The collective soldiers threw down their weapons and ran. Lyra's shadows receded. She collapsed beside Valerius, hands pressing to his wound, tears streaming. "Don't you dare die," she sobbed. "Don't you dare leave me." His eyes fluttered. Blood bubbled at his lips. "Love you. Love, No!" Her tears fell on his chest. The mate bond surged. She'd healed him once before with tears and desperation. She could do it again. She had to. But this time, something else happened. A third heartbeat joined theirs. Soft, rapid, tiny. The baby. Golden light erupted from Valerius, silver light from Lyra, and between them, impossibly, soft white light, pure and new and impossibly strong. Their child, barely a month in the womb, reached out with infant magic and pulled its father back from death. The bullet was pushed from Valerius's chest, the wound sealed. He gasped, back arching, and his eyes flew open, gold and bright and alive. "Our child," he rasped, "just saved my life before even being born. We're in so much trouble." Lyra laughed through her tears and kissed him. Around them, 300 wolves howled victory. The battle was over. 3 days later, Commander Iris arrived at the palace gates under a white flag. Alone, unarmed, requesting an audience. Lyra met her in the throne room, Valerius at her side, 300 wolves watching from the shadows. "I'm defecting," Iris said without preamble. Lyra laughed bitterly. "You threatened to burn 3,000 people. Now you want mercy?" "I never wanted war." Iris looked older, exhausted. "The Collective's new leader is an extremist. I disagreed. He tried to have me executed. I barely escaped." She pulled out a data chip. "This contains everything. Their plans. Their weapon." Valerius took the chip, handed it to a technician. Moments later, the hologram appeared. A nuclear weapon. Human-made. Powerful enough to wipe out every wolf territory within 100 miles. 2 weeks until launch, Iris said quietly. "I can get you inside their bunker, but you'll have to kill everyone there, including people you trained with, people who think they're protecting humanity." Lyra felt sick. There has to be another way. There isn't. Iris met her eyes. "This is war, Lyra. It's always been war." 7 days later, Lyra led a team of elite wolves into the collective's underground bunker. She was 4 months pregnant now, barely showing but moving carefully. Shadows cloaked them as they descended, past guards, past cameras, past checkpoints. Her team moved like ghosts, until they reached the central chamber. 50 collective soldiers surrounded them, weapons raised. And standing at the center, very much alive and not defecting at all, was Commander Iris. "Hello, Lyra," she said pleasantly. "Did you really think I'd betray humanity for a wolf lover?" Lyra's heart sank. "You lied. I set a trap. You walked into it. Proof that pregnancy makes you stupid." Iris gestured, and soldiers closed in. "The collective's leader wants to make an example of you. The traitor queen. Executed on live broadcast. Your hybrid abomination cut from your belly and displayed as a warning." Rage burned through Lyra's veins. Shadows exploded. "I wouldn't," Iris warned. "One signal from me, and the nuke launches. Not at the palace, at the refugee camps. The 3,000 humans you've been sheltering. Your coexistence experiment dies screaming." Lyra froze. Iris smiled. "Checkmate." The collective's leader stepped from the shadows, a tall man with dead eyes and a smile like a knife. "Detonate the nuke," he ordered. "Wipe out the refugees. Show the world what happens when humans betray their own kind." "You'll kill 3,000 innocents," Lyra said desperately. "Acceptable casualties." He raised his hand to give the signal, and Lyra smiled. "You're aiming at the wrong coordinates." The leader froze. "What?" "The refugee camps you think you're targeting? Empty for 2 weeks. I moved everyone. The spy you planted in my operation, Kira, she's been feeding you false location data for a month. Your nuke is aimed at an empty forest." Iris's expression cracked, just slightly. The leader snarled. "Impossible." "I've been 3 moves ahead since the day I left you," Lyra said quietly. "You taught me how, Iris. Remember? Always have a backup plan, always assume betrayal, always protect your assets." Her wolf team attacked. Chaos erupted. Soldiers fired, silver bullets ricocheting off shadow shields. Wolves tore through tactical gear like paper. Lyra fought carefully, protecting her stomach, using shadows to incapacitate rather than kill. These were her former comrades, misguided, but not evil. The leader fled. Lyra's shadows caught him, lifted him, and slammed him into a wall. He collapsed, unconscious. Only Iris remained, weapon raised. "You're better than I trained you to be," she said quietly. "Iris, please. Kill me. Prove you're one of them now. Prove you've chosen monsters over humanity." Lyra lowered her shadows. "No." Iris blinked. "What?" "I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to do something worse." Lyra stepped forward. "I'm going to forgive you and offer you a place in our world. Prove that mercy isn't weakness. Prove that coexistence isn't a fantasy." Iris's weapon trembled, her eyes filled with tears. "I was testing you," she whispered. "What?" "I wasn't triple-crossing you. I was quadruple-crossing them." Iris lowered her gun. "I needed to know if you'd choose peace even when war was easier. If the wolves had corrupted you. If you'd become like them, solving everything with violence." She dropped the weapon and fell to her knees. "You passed. The collective is done. I made sure of it. Their leader was a plant.
Their weapon is disabled. I've been dismantling them from within for months, waiting for you to prove that your way could actually work. Lyra stared. I'm sorry. For the tests, for the cruelty. But I had to know. Iris looked up. Humanity needs leaders who choose mercy. Will you let me help you build this alliance? The real one. Lyra extended her hand. Iris took it. 6 months later, Lyra screamed. Labor had been going for 14 hours. Valerius hadn't left her side, letting her crush his hand, whispering encouragement, looking more terrified than she'd ever seen him. One more push, the midwife urged. Lyra pushed, and the world exploded with light. Gold, silver, white. Magic erupted from the birthing chamber in a supernova of power, washing over the entire kingdom. Every wolf felt it. Every Shadowborn descendant, those thought extinct, felt it across continents. A baby's cry split the air. It's a girl, the midwife breathed. They placed her on Lyra's chest. Tiny. Perfect. Dark brown skin like her mother, eyes that shifted from gold to silver to both. Small wisps of shadow already curling around miniature fingers. Valerius was crying. Lyra was crying. The baby blinked up at them with ancient, knowing eyes.
Eleanor, Lyra whispered. After your grandmother. The first hybrid who tried to bridge 2 worlds.
Our Eleanor will succeed where she failed, Valerius finished.
Baby Eleanor yawned. Shadow and golden light danced around her like a living aurora.
She's going to be terrifying, Valerius said. She's going to be ours. 6 months later, Lyra hummed as she entered the nursery for Eleanor's afternoon feeding. The baby was 6 months old now, giggling constantly, manifesting both shadow and wolf magic in unpredictable bursts. Yesterday, she'd made her toys float. This morning, she'd accidentally turned invisible. Lyra pushed open the nursery door and froze. The window was open, cold wind billowing curtains, and standing over Eleanor's crib, holding a silver knife, was Kale. He looked terrible, gaunt, hollow-eyed, desperate. The man who'd once commanded a pack now looked like a ghost. "If I can't have you," he whispered, "no one gets your legacy." Lyra's shadows exploded. Valerius came crashing through the door mid-shift, massive black wolf snarling. But before either could reach him, baby Eleanor screamed. And the scream was power. Pure white light erupted from the infant. Kale was picked up by invisible force and thrown, not just across the room, but through the stone wall, out into the courtyard 3 stories below. He hit the ground in a crumpled heap. Guards swarmed him instantly. Lyra ran to the crib. Eleanor was floating 6 inches above the mattress, surrounded by swirling gold and silver light, giggling like she'd just done something clever. Valerius shifted back, staring at his daughter. "She's 6 months old." "She's powerful," Lyra corrected, scooping the baby up. Eleanor nuzzled into her mother's neck, powers fading, becoming just a sleepy infant again. In the courtyard, Kale was dragged to his feet, laughing hysterically. "You think you've won?" he screamed up at them. "She'll never be accepted. Hybrid. Abomination."
They'll come for her. Every traditionalist, every extremist, every wolf who fears change, and you can't stop them all. Valerius's voice was cold. Execute him at dawn. No. Lyra held Elena closer. Lock him in the deepest cell. I want him to live. I want him to watch our daughter grow up to be the most powerful being in this kingdom. That's a better punishment.
Kale was dragged away, still laughing. That night, Lyra and Valerius stood on their balcony, Elena sleeping between them. The baby manifested both shadow and golden wolf auras in her sleep. Impossible, beautiful, terrifying. Valerius stiffened, eyes on the horizon. What is that? Lyra used shadows to scout the distance. Figures approaching. Hundreds of them. No, more than that. Shadowborn, she whispered. Dozens of them. I thought we were extinct. Why are they here? They felt Elena's power when she was born. They're coming home. The figures kept coming, 100, 200, more. Valerius's jaw tightened. Is that good or bad? Lyra looked down at their daughter, this impossible child who carried 2 ancient bloodlines, thought lost forever. Elena yawned in her sleep, and the shadows and light around her pulsed like a heartbeat. I don't know, Lyra admitted, but we'll face it together. Baby Elena giggled in her dreams, completely unaware that her very existence had just changed the world. Lyra held her closer, Valerius's arm around them both. Our daughter united 2 extinct bloodlines, she murmured. The world is about to change. In the distance, the Shadowborn army crested the hill, hundreds strong, eyes glowing silver in the moonlight. The future was coming, and it looked like war.